Spoken Label.
He lurked in the shadows, waiting and hoping she wouldn't take a different route. This was her usual room. He knew that. He knew her.
Ghost of Me, the new book by Amanda Steele, can be found at Amazon, Kobo, Waterstones, and many, many other places. Hi guys, it's Andy N. Thanks today for downloading or streaming yet another episode of Spoken Label. As you may or may not be aware, Spoken Label was started in the beginning of 2006, and currently we have well over 150 sessions recorded since then. Although you can find it on various networks, the full archive is available for streaming and downloading at Spoken Label bandcamp.com. It is a free download or free stream in there, but obviously if you feel like chucking me a few pennies that way, it'd be eternally grateful to help me keep this podcast going and keep improving my equipment, etc. Enjoy. Speak to you soon. Bye bye. Spoken Label.
Hi guys, Andy N, Spoken Label, back in the house, in the quarantine zone unfortunately, so the way country society is going at the moment, but everyone is wondering, I'm okay, but it's just, we've got to be careful nowadays, so a lot of Spoken Label, as you might have guessed now, will be on the phone, on Facebook, Skype, any way I can. So today's session is with a gentleman, also originally from the Stretford area where I grew up. And we've been talking with, just off mic before, Dave, weren't we, about all the places in Stretford where you live, and I grew up around all of that, so it was great fun hearing all of them. But
I think it's very, very small world, isn't it?
Yeah, completely right with that one. Now, David Bond, who is the poet I'll be introducing in a minute, came down to Speakeasy, a little while ago, by Stretford night. I co-run with Amanda and Steve Smythe, and I love this stuff so much. We've been trying to sort this one out for a bit, so David, do you want to introduce yourself to everybody? Tell them who you are and where all your creativity originally came from, and we'll start from there.
Thank you very much, and thanks for having me on. So, it's a very difficult question. So, I'm David from Stretford, as you were saying. Grew up in Stretford, moved around a little bit, but somehow ended up back in the shadow of Old Trafford, which, as a City fan, I'm not too happy with.
But, I like you even more now, right?
Yeah, but if recent years are anything to go by, at least we've knocked them off the perch. Anyway, not talking about football, are we?
No,
I just
not.
I just wanted to have a dig at Man United. To be honest, that's what I'm doing with my writing. It's just giving me the opportunity to have a dig. Anyway, I'm not bitter or anything.
No, we don't need to. As City fans, we don't need to be bitter nowadays.
No, not anymore. That's moved on. So yeah, I'm from Stretford, moved around a little bit. I think I've always enjoyed writing, and I think it's almost like my default position. And I've never really wanted to do anything else. So even say in my work, which I really enjoy, I do. I've always done bid writing for charities. So
yeah, and that's what you're saying before. What you do for a day job now, don't you? So. Which is a creative way of expressing yourself, I suppose, isn't it? In a way, so.
Yeah. It's it's obviously quite a rewarding job, like being able to get or try to get funding in for projects through writing bids. But it's brilliant in that it lets me kind of hone my writing skills. So learning to write concisely, learning to write persuasively, learning to write to different audiences. So it all really helps with creative writing as well. But creative writing is really where I want to be, and if I could make some sort of a career out of writing, that would be the dream, really. But other people have done it, so why not?
Yeah, you've got to believe yourself as a writer. I completely agree. So, were you writing as a child, then, really? Were you? Has it always been like that? First memories when you wrote a poem or something like that, was it basically, or has it come along a bit later on?
Yeah, I think it's always been the case. I was looking through some of my old stuff when I was clearing out my room at my parents' house where I grew up. And I found even things like Christmas cards that I'd sent to my mum and dad or given to my mum and dad. And the strangest bunch of collection of strangest collection of writing in there. I can't believe I wrote all this stuff. It's like I don't know, it's like I lost my mind. I thought, I can't believe like an 8-year-old was writing this weird stuff.
Brilliant.
So I thought, I was thinking like, well, maybe as I'm a bit older, I've become a bit more weird. But I think I've always been weird. So there you go. But I think as I was obviously like a lot of children, I was into video games as a child, and I think I almost enjoyed more creating ideas for video games in my head than actually playing them. And I always remember when I was playing the game Driver 2, which is an old PlayStation game. I loved it so much that I thought, well, I'm going to have to make Driver 3. I'm going to have to make it even better. So I actually found out who the developers were and sent like a list of things that I thought they should put in the new game. So there's quite a lot of like content in there. And they even sent me a letter back saying, "Oh, we'll take your ideas on board." I mean, obviously they didn't mean it, but it was nice to get that recognition.
Oh yeah, completely, yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Great stuff.
I think I've always had an urge to do that. I think probably most people do, but it might be suppressed to one extent or the other. Like everyone wants to express themselves, and doing it through writing is the perfect way of doing it, really.
Yeah, completely. I agree with you there. I do like it as you wouldn't have known this, but like I'm very one of these sort of people who's very precise in my writing, where everything I've wrote I've completed to some sort of satisfaction. I've got them all logged in little hardback A5 books, would you believe? Right. And I've got pretty well everything since I was about 10. So I think I've got 54 or 55 of them now in a big plastic container under my bed, would you believe?
That's brilliant. Yeah. You need to get them on like digitised so you don't lose them.
Oh no chance of that one. Right, I said I'd be heartbroken if I lost them. Right, so
yeah,
that's why. But yeah, no, as I said, but anyway, when you were growing up as a writer, did you have any sort of writers that were big influences on you? And what do you read nowadays?
Yeah, I read a lot of fiction growing up. Well, that's a good question. I loved the Philip Pullman novels. What's it called? Amber Spyglass and Subtle Knife and
have you been watching? Did you watch the TV series last year? Did you?
It was pretty good. Yeah, I've seen some of the episodes, but what kind of jarred for me was loads of characters were in it used to be in Shameless, so it kind of
I noticed that.
Yeah, I was kind of struggling to really like lose myself in this fantasy world where Frank from Shameless was in it or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really love Philip Pullman. I think I tried too hard to read. I tried to read books that were kind of above my age level, and I thought this is too much, and then I had to go back to them years later. So I think when I was about 12, I tried to read the Romance of the Three Kingdoms, which is like an ancient Chinese huge novel, epic novel. And to be fair, I went back more recently, tried to read it, and I still don't get it. But I I remember trying to get into Harry Potter, but I think partly because I don't know why. I don't know why I did it, but partly because it was so popular, it kind of put me off it. So automatically, something in me thought, "Well, I'm not going to like this if everyone else does." Kind of the opposite thing to where people follow the sheep. It's almost like, well, I've got to do something different. And even then, I thought, reading stuff like that, I thought, well, I can write a book about witches and wizards. Well, why can't I do it? She can. So that was an influence in a way. But now probably read a lot more non-fiction now. So I read a lot of books. And I never did any science subjects at school. I don't think it was clever enough. I did like English and history. But I read a lot of books about like language, consciousness, psychedelics. It's a very interesting area, and it's not an area that's known about because it's a bit taboo. But there's a lot of interesting themes there, a lot of interesting content.
Cool. Now, I've said for you, you read more non-fiction nowadays. So, what made you then want to go say, for example, come to Speakeasy in Stretford? Like, because I know, like, you think you booked it in advance, didn't you, through Steve, that one, if I remember correctly. I don't think it was through me. But like I said, so I take it, did you have an interest in wanting to go to nights and stuff and see how other people did work?
Yeah, because I think I was thinking like, well, as a priority, I wanted to and still want to like forge a career in writing. So I thought that would be a good way of getting myself out there and seeing if people like my stuff, or if they didn't like it, how could I improve it? But also going for the enjoyment of hearing other people's work, because it's a privilege really to go to a night like Speakeasy and hear such great work that other people just don't hear about, because most people, if they are going to read it, stuff that, and I'm not knocking it, but stuff that's like maybe in the top 10 bestseller list at WH Smith or something, which isn't a bad thing, but we get to hear genuinely great material for the first time round sometimes, and it's live as well, so it's really good to hear other people's stuff, and that serves as an inspiration for you, I think.
Yeah, it does for us as well, because there's a good example going around where Amanda got inspired massively by a piece that somebody wrote once, because she lost a member of her family a couple of years of a year, and somebody came along and read a piece out. I'm not saying who, but read a piece out, and I know proved massively relevant. She wrote about 10 poems on it, basically, by using that, not the anguish, using the power by holding back on the words of it sometimes. You do, and like it's like Manchester itself is such a vibrant literature side at the moment. I know you've been to other nights yourself as well, haven't you, and trying other places out all the time as well. And
there's a few,
yeah, it certainly does. There's so many good. You're right. It's a good way of networking and getting the field of how you can improve your writing as well. So certainly. So now, obviously, before we were talking off mic, and I know long term you'd like to try and bring a book out, wouldn't you? So.
Yeah. So I think my aim really falls between purely writing for self-expression, because that's a good thing in itself. It's just good to write and get whatever's out in your head onto paper. It's good for your mental health as well. But I suppose my aim with writing is to try and change things ultimately. I'm not saying that I'm going to release a poem or a story and everyone's going to think, right, we're going to change the way we do things. But writing does change. Sorry, if people read books or read poems, it can change the way they think. And if people change the way they think, it changes the way they act. And that's what I think is brilliant about writing, especially when it's subversive. Look at people like Shakespeare. Not that I'm aiming to be Shakespeare.
Yeah, I know, right.
So people like Shakespeare, Thomas Hardy, George Orwell, they change the way people think, and they can have a massive impact. So I think if you're gonna do writing, why not aim high? Why not try and change the way that the world works for the better through changing the way people think, or at least challenging things, or questioning things, or bringing new ideas to the fold. And that's what I like to do. Ultimately, whether I do or not, I don't know. If I get to the end and all I've done is express myself, then that's great. But it would be nice. So I think initially I'd like to publish a short story collection, because that's what I really enjoy, writing short stories. But trying to get a theme going with them is more difficult. So 1 minute I'm writing one that's a bit of a light-hearted comedy, and then another one is a really gruesome horror story.
Yeah.
And if you look at, say, 10 of my short stories in a row, I think, God, it's like 10 different writers, it feels. But,
I think you do sometimes. As a writer, we don't like to stand still. And perhaps some ways we should learn to stand still and make success of it sometimes. Because I know Amanda's in the same situation as you there, because she's done novels on lesbian mermaids. She's just that's very Amanda, right? And she's also done a book on done a zombie novel, and she's currently done a paranormal crime thriller book. So and she writes all kinds of poetry and short stories herself. So I think it's some ways it's trying to market yourself down, but yeah, I get you completely with that one. So now, obviously, I know you do poetry as well. So do you have any sort of regular recurring themes of your poetry?
Yeah, when I was submitting an anthology to the Northern Writers Awards, which is it's an award for Northern writers,
of course,
who want to showcase the poetry and short stories. So I was looking through all the material that I've written over the years, and I think nature comes up in it quite a lot, or almost all of it actually. So there must be some. The thing I like to do most if I've got free time is just like go out on my bike or go out for a walk, even if it's down the canal towards the meadows rather than going out a bit further. And I think that's the place where I get most of my ideas, just sitting in nature, being still, paying attention, and just seeing what comes to mind really. So there's a lot of that, and I think that's maybe like a well-being thing for me, because obviously everyone has stresses and so on, and I think that's my way of coping with it. So just being somewhere quiet without noise or distractions or computers, any of that sort of thing, and just being on your own and being still. And then the writing flows from that naturally.
Yeah, I get you completely with that one. So I'm more sort of person, and I write when I'm on the go, sometimes between public transport going to and from work. But yeah, I do. There is that sort of magicness when you go and sit in the middle of a field or something, don't you? And and you get a breeze and of course sun blowing, and I completely can relate to that, certainly. So
yeah.
No, great stuff. Now, obviously, so I know your long-term plan, obviously, like I said, is to go and keep book thing, but certain now. What are you telling people a bit more about as well? And obviously, we don't have to name the charity you currently work for, but I know well you told me before, like you write bid writing and stuff, don't you? So now, if people are interested in getting into that sort of field of work, how did you get into this sort of work in the first place?
What did I do? So whilst I was at uni, I did a work placement for a charity in the corporate fundraising department. So gained a lot of skills and a great experience there. Then after uni, I wanted to work for a charity, and I became a fundraiser for a small charity in Stockport. So basically, I did everything. So one minute I was trying to do a grant application, and then the next minute I was trying to do a name the Teddy. Or getting a collection box. It was a bizarre job, or helping somebody to go to the toilet. It was a very strange job, but from that job, I found that I thought this is brilliant. I like writing. I'm going to have to go to work 9 to 5, 5 days a week, most of the year for the rest of my life.
Yeah,
or most of the rest of my life. I may as well. I've got to find something that I can enjoy, so I found a job where you can write for a living, which is brilliant, really. Even at work now, I still have it in my head. Whenever I have to do something other than write, as in do the actual bid proposal, I resent it. So if I'm called into a meeting, I think this isn't work. This is a distraction. It's almost the same to me as like having a break. And when I remember a meeting being postponed, and my boss was annoyed, it's like, we're gonna have to do that again later. I thought, brilliant, I can just get back to my writing.
Something I remember.
Yeah. But the less I have to do other things other than write at work is great, but maybe not the best attitude to have sometimes. But I like to do it naturally, so yeah, it's good.
No, completely. Now, if people want to find out more about you, where are they best going?
That's a good question. I'm not considering I want to, find myself a career in writing. I'm not really that good at social media or anything. What can they do?
Facebook page usually. So people start. Do you put much of your work up on Facebook? Do you? Or?
No, I haven't yet. It's what I've done is I've submitted lots of short stories and poems to like competitions and awards, but in terms of having an online presence, I don't actually have that much. But I do have. I've published things on an ebook site before. Let me just find out what it is. The link to it. Have you heard of Smashwords?
I have heard of Smashwords. So you're on Smashwords, are you? If you could send the link over to me afterwards if you can't find it briefly, and we could. I'll put it on the write up, and that way people can check you out on Smashwords, and certainly.
Yeah. Well, I'll just get my Twitter up now as well. It's so my Twitter handle is at dbond34.
dbond34. Yep.
Actually, no, tell a lie. I told you I wasn't very good at online presence. I've changed it now. It is. It's at D_James_Bond, BOND.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I should tell you as well, I'm a secret agent.
Is your middle name James then, is it? So.
Well, yeah, that's worth mentioning actually. So I've never really taken myself that seriously, so I'm trying to inject a lot of humour into my writing. So, and it shows even in my name. So when I think it's about 12, if you go to Catholic school, you get confirmed, and you get a confirmation name. So when somebody told me to get a free name, I thought, brilliant, I'm going to have to use this to my advantage. So I thought, well, my second name's Bond, so well, why not just pick James? And I don't know if I'm just misremembering this, but I'm sure in the church where the priest had to read out on the day what my confirmation name was going to be, it got a few laughs. So
yeah.
I don't even like the James Bond films, but I just thought, well, may as well take the opportunity.
No, completely.
So that is my Twitter handle. So I'm gonna have to start putting stuff on there other than football memes. It's D_James_Bond.
I'll check, make sure I've got that wrote later. That's fine. Send over to me afterwards your Smashwords profile as well. And what I'll do is I'll put that over in your write-up for your podcast when I get this released eventually for you, mate. So no problem with that. Right, okay. Now, with this obviously being a telephone podcast, what I always do, Dave, is I actually terminate the call in a minute, and then I'll get this call saved, and then basically I'll ring you back in about 5 minutes. And then if you can, would you be okay to read out a few pieces for us?
Yeah, how many pieces do you want?
4?
Yeah, that's fine.
Brilliant, sounds good to me then. Right, I'll see you in 5 minutes then.
Right, thanks very much.
Thanks, guys. See you soon. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.
Spoken, mate.
Hi, guys. Still with David, and straight over to David now, because he's going to read out a selection of his works to us. Over to you, my friend.
Thanks very much. Yes, I'm going to read out 4 pieces, and I'll try and explain them without ruining the end of the story.
Best way, mate.
Beforehand. Hopefully you don't find out who the killer is straight away. Right, there are no killers. It's all nice stuff.
I believe that when I see it.
It's totally, that was a complete lie, actually. I don't know why I did that, because the first one's about World War One. So this came about because it's funny where you get inspiration. I was watching, I don't really want to give plugs to films, but watching the film 1917 recently. I don't know if you've seen that, but
I'm not actually. I saw the one that Peter Jackson did last year when he colorised everybody.
That was good, yeah.
Yeah, that one. I've not seen 1917, mind you. So was it any good?
I thought it was amazing. Like, I'm quite critical, really, but I thought it was an amazing film, and it was one of the interesting techniques they used was to make it look like it was one continuous shot.
Oh yeah, I read about that. Yeah.
Which really added to the tension, especially when I was thinking, like, God, what if somebody just sneezes and they have to do the whole take again?
Yeah.
I think it was actually, I read up afterwards, it was done in a series of 7 to 8 minute shots, but it just looked like it was continuous. So it was a fascinating film.
Yeah, I've seen a German one called Victoria that actually managed it. And
really?
And they did it over about 4. They shot the film 4 times over 4 successive days, and they picked out the take that they were most happy with. But I thought myself, and that you can tell that was done in one shot because the camera was following people as they're running on the street shooting at each other and stuff like that.
Oh right, that sounds good. I have to get into that.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good film. Yeah, but when you're watching techniques like that, they are quite surreal, actually, really. So, but anyway, onto your point.
Yeah, well, basically it came about because I was watching the film and it was, the landscape was obviously completely ruined through the war, and it started, during the film I was thinking, like, I wonder what, the fields of like northern France and Belgium would have looked like, before the war. I mean, obviously, you can look into history books and so on, but just to try and imagine that in your head, like, I would imagine it was quite a peaceful, quiet place. So that's the theme of the poem, and it's called 1913. 1913. Before the metal rain, countless tulips kiss the horizon. They silently await their fate. Countless bodies will take their place. Before the long dark night, gentle hills undulating without worry. Streams with no names, merely trickles. A simple and pleasant busyness. Before the noise and confusion, church bells softly peal. Cows jostle, cowbells jingle. Shepherds call expectantly. The passage of time is slow, but outside forces now intervene. Tension accelerates, nothing will ever be the same. The birds of 1914 sing loudly. The last dawn chorus. Tomorrow, noise never heard before. Tomorrow shall deafen them. Deafened, dead. The final curtain call. Hell has been performed, earth the stage. 1913, a bittersweet memory. Poppies in place of tulips now, growing rich in the blood and bones of strangers to this land.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's got a real weight behind that, Dave. So no, excellent stuff, mate. So no, I remember you doing that one at Speakeasy actually as well. So it's one. I'm glad you started off with that one, mate. So okay, what's the second piece you want to do?
Let's have a look. So the next three pieces really are what I would call meditative poems, if that's the right word.
Oh, good.
So basically, I've tried to meditate for about 10 years, but I just don't have the patience for it. And I've read a lot about it, and people have some sort of spiritual transformation, but it hasn't quite happened for me yet, unfortunately. But there you go. So instead of meditating, I thought, well, I need to do something to try and achieve the same effect. So I do that by either going out or imagining something in nature and then just writing about it. So the first one is Silent Sunset. The castle looms large as the sun falls below. The birds sing wistfully, honouring the end of day. Grass and weeds dominate, high up on the lonely cliff. The dandelions stretch forward, greedy for the final rays. The wind howls mournfully, rushing through the ruined stone, as if trying to seek attention of people long since lost. Far below the waves envelop, thrash and recede. They strike with formidable fury of a lover abandoned and betrayed. The sun finally falls, departing from the scene, and all is cast into shadow, and all is cast into silence.
Brilliant. Yeah, I remember you doing that one at Speakeasy as well. Yeah, good choice that one, because it's a nice contrast in a way to 1913. Because your 1913 piece is it's about nature as well, but this is obviously in a completely different way. So, no, great stuff,
Thank
mate.
you.
Great stuff, mate. Okay, what's your third piece?
So this is another meditative poem, I suppose. It's designed to instill a bit of peace into your mind, and hope it does. This, I think I said it at Speakeasy as well, it's me nostalgising, is that a word?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
It is, right, good.
It is.
I'm just going to say it, other people have invented words. Maybe I've got it wrong, anyway. Nostalgising for a childhood that I didn't have in a small, remote, English, quiet, leafy village, because of course I grew up in central Manchester. So it would be nice to grow up in a nice little countryside village, but I didn't, so I'm going to have to make up that I did. So this is it. It's called English Village. The schools are closed, the parents are home, life is winding down in this little English village. Autumnal leaves scatter in the brisk wind, branches sway and shiver, bracing for the night. The bird singers to sleep, a sweet dusk lullaby, the oak canopies mass against a blackening sky. The woodland stands tall, retaining its old world splendour, lying for years undisturbed, quietly growing and dying.
Oh, blimey, that is a short one now, isn't it, as well? Yeah, I forgot sometimes how short your poems can get sometimes. It's good. It's good sometimes, like, as a writer. Like, I think it's always good if you mix and match, you do a longer one like your 1913 one, and your last two will all be quite short pieces, which it's a good idea. Good discipline for any writer to do that, so great stuff, mate. Okay, finale.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, because I think, to be honest, the reason why the poems are short is I'm not confident enough yet to write longer ones.
That's honest.
Call you out on that one.
No, at least you're honest about it, mate. So.
Yeah. I couldn't let that go, to be honest. But I think 1913 is the longest one I've written, so maybe I'll get into, maybe I'll get into 3 pages one day.
Blimey, that's when they get a good tip for any performing poet. If you get to that length, then it starts getting harder to keep audiences' interest.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so.
So the last one is probably the first poem that I started feeling confident enough to send out to publishers and awards. So quite proud of it. It's based on a visit I had to Austria, to a little village where it's very serene, very quiet, and I would have liked to have stayed there forever, but unfortunately life called me back. So this is called Alpine Dawn. For once the waters are still, not even a ripple or a gentle lapping at the lake's edge. As if posing for a picture or owing itself a rest, the lake holds its breath and all turn to marvel. Eagle plumage shimmers as they strain to see. Gossamer highlights twinkle as the spiders draw close. Admiring with reverence, the snakes cease to slink. Gazing above with awe, the fish cease to swim. The yawning chasm of orange, the sun yearns to see too, soothing the landscape into contrast, illuminating the view.
Beautiful, mate. Beautiful again. So how many lines is that last piece? It was about 10 lines, is it?
16.
Yeah, I knew it wasn't a particularly long one. That's excellent stuff. It's a great way of finishing it off, that, mate. Because short, concise stuff, definitely. So, brilliant. I've really enjoyed this today. So thank you for this today, David. Definitely. So, now hang around. I need a quick word off mic, but this is Andy N saying thank you again to David, and keep in touch, everybody. The most important is stay safe, and we'll speak to you all soon. Take care.
Thank you.
See you soon, guys. Bye.
Spoken Label. Thanks again for listening to another session of the Spoken Label. Our full archive can be found over on Bandcamp at Spoken Label. That's one word. Spoken Label. Full stop. Bandcamp.com. And there is over 150 sessions there. So I'm sure that if you've enjoyed this session, there'll be something else there you can enjoy as well. Take care. Bye bye. Spoken Label.